This podcast is part of the Democracy Group.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's astounding to me that even though there is this continuous, focused push to create consensus, uh, establishment consensus, like everybody should believe this or that, right? Even, and it's been going on for a long time. And there's that book by Chomsky, Herman and Chomsky, called Manufacturing Consent. And in spite of all that, we see again polling that shows that the people are actually agree on things that the parties don't agree with. They agree, even Republicans, more than 60% of Republicans agree on common sense gun laws, right? If you watch Fox News, you would think that 95% of them, don't want it, right? No, 60% plus want common sense, right? And it's astonishing, like the kinds of things. So there's a lot of hope, meaning even though the media is constantly mainstream media, whatever, and all those shows that try to just um, brainwash you, they, if you let the people, if you ask the people, okay, what do you believe? They believe in something reasonable. And so getting
Well,
them
you have to
out of that
realize that
noise.
those are shrinking media models, right? And
Yeah.
those media models are nothing but propaganda. So anybody who's still watching any of that lamestream has to realize they are being led, they are being forced what to think, I mean, it's just astounding. I go back into the high school again and I'm seeing kids who read 1984 by Orwell but what they're not connecting is the fact that he wrote that in 1947. And
Yeah.
he had the vision of these screens that we're looking at now, looking at us, watching our every movement with our phones
Yeah.
tracking where we go
Yeah. Yeah.
and this total surveillance society that he predicted.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary stuff, man. And people have to realize that there are ways we can get around that, ways we can avoid losing our Bill of Rights protections that were put in a couple of years after the Constitution. People don't realize either that the Constitution was generated for the elites to take over,
Yeah.
create a federal system that would allow them to tax, allow them to raise an army. And they didn't have the Bill of Rights in originally. It took a couple of years for that to be, those
Yeah.
amendments to be
Yeah.
added.
Yeah.
So that's what happens with, people don't realize. I mean, it's an active participation of the people to make that stuff happen, right? It happened back then, the people demanded it, and now we need the people to demand
Exactly. I mean, that's
action.
exactly right. So, meaning we can lean on the core basic American narrative of, we started with imperfect and imperfect union, and we're perfecting it. And the
Exactly.
only way that we perfect it is by having the people get involved, right? Whenever the
Right,
people don't get
exactly.
involved, I mean, if you look at the history, whenever the people just go back, right, it regresses, right? With at the end of the 19th century, early 20th century, you had all these moguls, the current, we call them oligarchs, but at the time they were titans, right? Boom, they
Right.
took over society. And then how did we get rid of them? When the people started suffering and getting involved, and there was a lot of people who were pushing very hard, to the point where it became clear that if the government is not going to be responsive, right, then we're going to go full-throated communism, right? I mean, that was the fear. That's why Roosevelt said, I'm going to tax you 100% above anything beyond a certain. And they said, no, 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 no. He said, you don't want 100%, right? Well, then, you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to be decapitated by the people. That's what's going to happen to you. And so they gave in, and I think they give 90% tax rate, in terms of anything above a certain rate, which gave us, by the way, the middle class, of course,
A
right?
robust middle class.
A
Yes.
robust middle class. The bill, the GI Bill, where did that money come from, right? It came from, the taxes that we collected from the people who were just hoarding, right? So the point really to your point, which is, it's not like a linear, right? When the people disconnect, it goes bad. When people reconnect, when the civil rights got involved, we started getting some progress. When we had the reactionary, when the civil people started taking civil rights for granted, here we are, challenging some basic civil rights legislation that was passed in the mid 60s, right? I mean, we had some reversal of Roe v. Wade, because we thought it was a commandment from God, all right? And so everybody got disconnected. And so now we have to reconnect again. And so I think if we frame it that way, that this is what we're doing here as a TRM and all the other independent organizations, as a way to get the people back in, because the story of America is exactly that. It started imperfect, got better, got worse, got better, and every time it got worse because the people disconnected. Every time it got better is because people disconnected. But let me just press you on. What is your elevator pitch? Without going into the weeds, somebody has never heard of this. How would you say, okay, listen, this is what we're trying to do, and this is why you should take us seriously? What would you say, like your elevator 1 minute pitch? My name is
Well,
Joe
we the
Oddo.
people,
My name is Joe
we
Oddo,
the
and I'm
people,
running. I'm sorry, guy.
we the people are running. I'm running to represent the people. I am running to be an avatar, to allow people to have a
Yeah,
voice.
yeah,
I'm going to cast my voice the way that you, the people, tell me to. So allow me to get in the position to show how it can work, right?
perfect.
Give us your vote. Don't waste your vote on R or D this time, because we have something we can deliver. Because 6 to 8 of us can change the fate in Congress and make that a legislative body that actually works again.
Well, let's play.
That's the
Let's
pitch.
let's play a role. Let's play a role. So you said that. And so where do you stand on abortion?
It doesn't matter where I stand, it's a matter where the people stand. So this state may lean one way and Pennsylvania may lean another, but whoever the elected member is that's with us on TRM and choosing to vote the way the people say, they're going to cast the vote the way the people say.
But how
And
would
that's
you how would you cast a vote if you get elected? How would you cast a vote?
we put it out to the swarm.
Right.
We allow the swarm to make the decision. How do you want us to vote on this piece of legislation? We put the piece of legislation out there in a text message, digested by AI so that it's in readable bits, that people can understand, and then they'll be able to make an educated decision on how to vote for it. And then I just simply cast the vote that
Yeah.
they tell me to.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think people, when they shake your hand, they're gonna expect you to say things, vote for me because I stand on this and that. I think it would be a little bit of a good, actually healthy jolt for them, for you to say, my name is Joe Oddo, and I stand on nothing except what the people want. Something like that. It says, what does
Your
that mean?
voice. I stand for your voice.
I stand for your voice. And then, like, what do you mean?
So I'm your
Right?
conduit, basically. You want to be able to have a voice in Congress? Here's how we do it.
Yeah. Or something along the lines of, that today, Congressman Claiborne or whatever, right, is an avatar for special interests. I
Exactly.
want to be an avatar for the people. I want to be just there, have no power. What I believe doesn't matter. I don't belong to any party. Every single decision I make in terms of votes.
That is
Uh,
a good point because those guys, when they are provided with hundreds of thousands of dollars from certain lobby groups like APAC, then of course they can't cast a vote against them.
no
I
way.
mean,
It's
they
suicidal.
can't vote against their money train. So
And it's
yeah, I
worse.
mean
It's worse
that
than that.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Avatar for the special interest versus avatar for
For
the
the
people. Which one
Yeah,
do you want?
which one? Which one do you want? Do you want somebody who will actually do? And another question is like, do you think that we would have gone to war against Iran if it was up to the people? What do you think the
Right.
people
If
have
it weren't
voted
for the
for?
Trumpstein files, would we have bothered?
Exactly, exactly. Would we have like if every congressman had asked their people and say, should I go to war or not? They'd say no.
Right.
If every congressman would say, should we pass War Powers Act and Senator? They would say yes, right? And then
At
you
this
would,
point, should we impeach the
should we impeach
the
this guy?
leader of that party
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all the sycophants that are with him? Should we impeach the whole
yeah.
administration? Yes,
Should
because
we
the
put?
25th Amendment requires it. And let's honor all the amendments.
Yeah,
That's what we're here for. We are
yeah.
the people. We put them in place for a reason.
Exactly. And it's not like you are taking, you say, I don't matter, right? That's what I think it would be really interesting to see how people react to that. Say, I'm nobody. I'm nobody. I really am. I'm not here for a
Right.
career. I don't believe in anything. I have my own personal beliefs, but it don't matter. I think piquing people to ask, what does that mean? Would be because they will just go through the motions, like, where do you stand? Oh, fantastic. I agree, I disagree. And then when you flip it on
I
them and
mean, if
say,
they want to check my record to see what I believe in,
doesn't
they will
matter.
see very clearly that I believe in, national election reform. I have for 25 years.
Right,
That's
right.
all
Yeah,
record that's already
yeah,
out there. But this is a separate entity. This is a separate purpose.
yeah.
We are creating a purpose now. I mean, if I'm up there drafting legislation, I'm still going to make sure that we try to end gerrymandering, that we try to get fair elections, that we
Yeah.
lower the bar for people to participate in elections. Those are things I'm going to do outside of, but the vote is what counts here. This is
Yeah.
how am I going to cast a vote? This is the people's voice casting the vote. 500 people minimum, maybe 1,000, whatever we can get in the swarm of regular, ordinary citizens, not
Yeah.
loaded up with
Yeah.
with
Working class.
oligarchs or
Yeah.
rich folks who have an interest. Make sure that it's a people representative thing, and because even early in the republic, when they first allowed voting, you had to have a certain minimum.
Yeah.
Uh,
You have to be
you had
property.
to
Yeah.
have a certain minimum property ownership, or you
Yeah.
had to certain your estate had to be worth so much money. So that was
Right.
basically a poll tax back then.
Of
No,
course.
we don't need
Yeah.
that. We will make sure that it's the people like the last. I think the last calendar year we had the less. What was it? Personal income on relative income or something than we've had over the last since about 50, 70 years, something like that. And
Hmm.
the less take home income percentage wise than we've had for 70 years.
Jeez.
And
Okay.
that's because of the way that the oligarchs have shifted that tax code back. And now the people need to fight back. The people need to realize we're letting it happen by standing down and not participating. That's how we let it happen. The 40 million people who didn't vote, they own what's going on in the Orange Clown Show now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Okay. So, I'm hoping that we do this conversation every few weeks, and keep track of the campaign. But in terms of the campaign itself, what is the next step? But you guys, have
Well,
you
I go
registered?
to Columbia to
Okay, file.
register in 2 weeks, maybe 4 weeks in that window
Okay.
that you go to announce, and we'll see if anybody else steps forward. Right now, I don't know of anybody that's going to challenge Clyburn, but somebody probably will at the last minute, especially the oil party who's embarrassed when they don't put somebody up against him. So,
Yeah.
if the independents do, then they usually bring somebody,
Well,
find
I mean,
somebody.
the good news is that now that's another probably good the upside of running against Clyburn is, like, local political journalists there really don't have any stories, because what are you going to talk about? Clyburn is run by himself. There's nothing going on. When you show up, they're like, all right, well, there's something we can write about, right? So hopefully we can leverage that. Plus the provocative idea of, I am nobody. I'm not running because I am so and so. I'm running because I want to introduce. I want to make sure that we have a way to have the folks who actually are going to be affected by the legislation, right? That is passed in their name, right? Let's say things go real bad, right? And they want to introduce to the draft. I mean, it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities, because they're
Oh
running out of
yeah.
people, right? And because it just went out and they need to send 500,000 people. There's no way you can do that unless they introduce the draft. Okay, well, will the people have a say in that? Your son, who is 18, beautiful son, right, is going to be drafted, and you have no say.
And you have no say that Baron Trump will have hereditary bone
Of
spurs
course,
and
he
won't
has.
have to go.
He will have. Maybe he's too tall. He's too tall. Probably he's gonna say
Right.
he's too tall for that and whatever it may be. But if it's a draft, it's gonna touch the middle class who will fight like hell to let somebody take their son out there to go and die. They won't do. They won't let. And so all of a sudden, right? If you don't have the mechanism by which you're gonna be able to influence your congressperson,
Yeah, you're just gonna
so
let
what's gonna
them
happen?
steamroll us like they've been doing.
You're gonna have he's gonna are you going to accept that, right? So anyway, and I think the crisis, I think that we should not let this crisis go by unexploited. The crisis we are right now with the war, I think has waken up between ICE and this and Epstein, right? People are just waking up. I mean, you saw in Texas for the first time in 50 years, more Democrats voted in their primary than
Well, I
Republicans.
don't put much weight on the primary process.
But but the
It's a
fact
rigged system,
but the
but
fact the fact that
but
they're
it isn't. I guess you could
the
say it's
turn
encouraging
the
that we
turnout.
got people out of the
Yeah.
woodwork and
It
that
means
they are gonna
it
vote
means
with their
they're
feet
scared
by
shitless.
going to the polls, right?
Well,
So
my point is
let's
they're
hope
scared.
that's a good sign that people will turn out
No,
this time.
I think everybody is scared, to their bones about what happened the last few months, right? ICE and then Epstein and this war and all that. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to, get the message across that unless it becomes a thing that we are always involved, we're gonna go back after we get rid of this guy. We're gonna go back, and then what's gonna happen is gonna continue, and things are gonna get worse with with jobs being lost because of AI, the surveillance states becoming more entrenched, these mega companies, taking over contracts, government contracts. It's bleak
It's
right
all
now.
the same game, let's feed our supporters. We're going to reward them for supporting us, and nothing changes. I mean, they act like there's a change, that we got rid of departments and USAID. We shut it down because it was corrupt. Why was it corrupt? Because it wasn't paying you. It was paying the other side. How's that work? Let's favor our guys. Planetary. Yeah, we love you. And let's
Volunteer,
reward our contract. Let's make sure all you guys invest in weapons because, we're gonna make you wealthy some more.
yeah,
I
invest
mean,
in
that's it's like
yeah.
the Dick Cheney model all over again. They did that 25, 30 years ago, and here they are doing it again.
Well, I mean, it's except that now it's multiplied by 10 or 100, right? Because now, there's a lot more concentration of power, but media as well as technology and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they've definitely
it's even
scarfed
worse.
up all the
It's even
any
worse.
any remaining corporate media is all in their small
Yeah.
hands right
I mean,
now.
at the time we didn't have billionaires, if you remember. We didn't have billionaires. We had, and now we have a trillionaire. And if you're not a billionaire, you have to be a billionaire to have
And
stand.
that one party, the alternate party, it starts with a D, whose name I don't mention either of their names. I'm not giving them any free press, but they have this one plank of this platform for 26 that says we're gonna we're gonna eliminate billionaires. What? Why would you even say that? Because you have no intention of doing that. You rely on them to raise your money, and they sit around in their conventions. They're up inside
Yeah.
the boxes, looking down at the people on the floor, saying, "Ha! You're going to eliminate billionaires. Good luck with that." They have no intention of doing that, so they're already lying to the people by putting that in there. It's just bizarre to me that people are like falling for it. Oh yeah, hey, they're going to eliminate billionaires. No, they're not. Where's the legislation? Even the one California governor has already come out and said that's a bad idea. Of
Well,
course not. You got to raise money from them people. You got to say that, right? You're getting paid too. So that's why we need people outside of those legacy parties. It's so critical right now. Do not fall for voting for R or D. Just quit wasting your vote on that entity. No
yeah.
more. Please, I'm asking you, any independent out there with any heart and soul left for the country, you got to give the chance for the people to take over. This is the best formula that we ever come up with. Spinning it off of Mike Gravel's idea that we need a fourth branch of government. Here it is. Here's the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think we again, it's not like we've had democracy and we are now regaining it. I think
Right.
we've had a very imperfect, version of it, and hopefully we're going towards a more, more inclusive, democracy that will continue to get better with more involvement, more engagement, and again, technology is a tool. Everybody needs to remember that it's just a tool. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad. AI can be used for good or it can be used for bad. AI can be your surveillance, so it can enable you to do things like understand a bill that was written in a way deliberately to obfuscate what it means, right? Um, and then all kinds of things you can do with the technology. Anyway, so this is the first of several conversations. I'm gonna have the website where people can go find out more about you listed in the show notes. Anything else you wanna add, Joe?
Where can people see this podcast?
This podcast? Yeah, they
Yeah. What's the
go
website for this?
go to jointrm.com,
Oh, okay.
and then hopefully
Yeah.
when it's out, you'll post it on your website, which is
Yeah.
bettercandidates.org,
Bettercandidates.org. Yeah.
bettercandidates.org, right? So you'll be able to see it there. Obviously with the social media and get the word out. And right now in terms of strategy, the way I think we can work to promote the idea of TRM through you is to hopefully get you on other podcasts. I'm connected to books, like I was saying, get people to donate to your candidacy. Go to bettercandidates.org, and I believe the donate button is working.
Yep.
Right. Get connected to journalists, local journalists, because again, now they have something to write about as opposed to before where they had nothing to write about, right? Um, and then the last thing is I think there is an opportunity in students, universities. You students love new ideas, right? Love radical ideas that are doable. I think what's interesting about this idea is it's radical, it's about direct democracy, but it doesn't ask for an overhaul of everything. There's no need for a constitutional change. There's no need for like even ranked choice
And
voting.
because they're so tuned off and tuned
Yeah,
out and turned off by the
yeah,
Orange Clown show that's going on, this gives them a good alternative place with positive energy to go
with positive
forward
energy.
rather than to keep hearing all the negativity that pours
Yeah,
out of the uniparty now. It's just
yeah, and the fact
yeah,
that
they tune out because they're tired of negativity. Well, here's a chance. We've created positive space for them to join and
yeah,
to feel like they can exercise their voice.
yeah,
And we want to hear their voice. That's the whole point. We
absolutely,
are
yeah,
listeners.
and
That's
yeah, and the hope and the fact that we have built an actual platform, right? There's a mobile app, so there's using cutting edge technology that's always attractive to the youngsters, right? This is really cutting edge
yeah, exactly.
technology that allows you to do really exciting things. Hopefully they'll be receptive to that. Um, and then and then, like you said, the fact that this is novel, but at the same time, it's actionable. It's not just people making speeches, right? You can run
Exactly.
on the idea of having a swarm. It tells you what to do, whether at the state level or the federal level or even the local city level. I want to reflect the will of the people. Here's a platform that allows us to do that. The platform's name is Epistemos, Epistemos, epistemos.com, and I'll make sure that I have it in the show notes.com. And that has a full functioning platform for the representative who will be, or their staff will be uploading bills and whatever, and sending them to their swarm, adding the swarm, and then a mobile app for the swarm member who will receive notification and be able to read in language that they understand. In fact, it's even if you don't speak English or you don't read English very very well or easily comfortably, we have like 20 languages. So Spanish translates to
All right.
Spanish,
Good.
translates it to whatever it may be, right? So you're able to read it, you're able to comment, so you can comment, and we have it so that it's anonymous. We don't want people to become like these, anonymous. So it's text. You see the text and you respond to the text. There's no influencer or somebody who, and also, it tries to surface a minority opinion. So if everybody's agreeing on something that is not as interesting, right? Well, how about somebody who has an interesting, AI can do all of that. You can say, well, consider this person said this interesting thing. What do you think, right? And then you vote, right? You vote, and then the representative, when the vote closes, sees, okay, 50+% said yes or no or abstain, and therefore, very mechanically, the representative will vote that way. All of a sudden, we have people who have actual power, not just a
Exactly.
voice. They're not just telling you
Yep.
this is what I
It's the
believe.
most self-empowering
Yeah,
mechanism that has come around in about 100 years, you know.
yeah. So, and then right now we want for students who are looking for exciting stuff, like exciting, new and exciting, right? I mean, we're going to sort of make sure that they're included in our ecosystem, go after them. And the reason why we're sort of focusing on one or two candidates is so that we can put all our energies in understanding how do we get this message out, right? We're going to learn a lot, right? And hopefully we can get somebody else. I think you have in mind somebody who might be of interest to this mission. I think the first district, right? Perhaps.
Oh, I can't do it on my own. We need 6 to 8 to change the fate. So we need more people. Blast the word. Even if we want to run just for the local office,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
there's board of supervisors, there's county boards, there's mayors, council, there's all kind of state legislators, state senates. We need people to step forward all across the board. So if you want to run for Congress, yes, please, by all means, find a way to get on the ballot. Stand for office, even if you can't run, you can't be out there every day. Stand, get on the ballot and stand for office because at least then you got your voice
Yeah,
to say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a swarm. We're going to allow the citizens a conduit to action. This is it. I mean, since women got the vote 100 years ago, and it's being challenged again now. I mean, come on. That, if nothing else, reminds you how precarious our representative republic is right now. This is it. Now is the time for people to step up and say, we are going to hold on to what our founders built. They weren't perfect. We know that. The first two presidents we had, Washington and Hancock. See, people think, wait a minute, Hancock? Yes, he was the president of the Continental Congress that generated the Constitution. I mean, a very important character because, you know, these guys put in the work, even though they were the elitists of the time. They put in the work to say, we are going to create a republic that is representative of the people. Bam.
yep,
And they honored that. And for Washington to step out after two
yeah,
terms
yeah.
and say, we're going to have a peaceful transition of power. Watch this. First time ever, right? In the history of man. I mean, come on.
That was a huge
So
innovation.
that's, you can't underestimate, even though they weren't perfect people. We know that, but hey, we have to take what they gave us and run with it.
And make it better, right? Make it
Exactly.
better. Wonderful. All right, Joe. All right. Obviously, you and I are going to be working
Thank you, Ahmed.
closely. Thank you so much for making the time, and then we'll talk again.
All right, outstanding. Keep up the good work, sir.
You too. You too. Thank you.
Peace.